The Phenomena of Tides by Zina Karnasev for ITL518 at National University with Dr. Princess Charles Johnson. This is May 14th, 2022. The learning goals of this will be for students to be able to discuss the phenomena of tides using the vocabulary words, be able to define high tide and low tide, and able to build a model of the lunar cycles and explain how the moon attributes to the tide cycle. Learning standard we'll be focusing is MSESS-1 domain, and that entails developing and using a model of the Earth, Moon, and Sun system to describe the select patterns of lunar phases, eclipses of the Sun and Moon, and seasons. Our tide vocabulary will include 8 words: rotation, going around the axis or center; tide constituent, factors contributing to tides; gravity, a constant force on Earth causing mutual attraction between mass or energy; lunar phases, there are 4 lunar phases equaling 29 days; waxing, moon thickening; waning, moon thinning; high tide, when the sea level rises, reaching maximum sea level flood current; and low tide, the sea level lowers, reaching minimum sea level, which is also the EBB current, ebb current. So, what are tides? So from what we know, tides are, the rise and fall of the level of the ocean. They originate in the ocean and progress towards the coastline, where the sea surface appears to change on a regular basis. So just to kind of refresh, what are tides? What are 3 things you could take from what I just said? Well, if you're thinking the rise and fall of the level of the ocean, that's correct. They originate in the ocean and progress towards the coastline, and it's a cycle of the sea surface changing on a regular basis. But what causes them? The lunar cycle is something we have to go over if we're going to discuss what causes tides. And basically, the lunar cycle is the amount of moon that we see that changes over the month in a cycle called lunar phases. The moon orbits around the Earth, and the Earth orbits around the Sun. That takes approximately 15 to 13 days for the full moon to return to a new moon. So you can see here, if we have the Sun and we have Earth here, we have the moon in rotation going around Earth. And depending on where the moon is with respect to the Earth and the Sun, that will determine what type of moon we can see from where we are on the planet. So you notice we have the new moon here, and we have the old moon over here that's dark and we can't see. And then gradually, as you see the moon thickening, that takes approximately 13 days, 13 to 15, and then you see the moon thinning or waning, as we had one of our vocabulary words. All right, let's go on though. So while the moon is in orbit, tides occur in cycles by the gravitational pull of the Sun, moon, and rotation of the Earth. As the moon rotates around the Earth, while the position of the Earth changes with respect to the Sun, a force is causing a swell of the ocean's water on one side of the Earth, the high tide, and a loss of water on the other side, creating a low tide. So you can see here, because of the moon, the water is being attracted to the moon, and there's a gravitational force also from the Sun with respect to the Earth that's kind of squeezing Earth, so it's making the water kind of be pushed out from the top to the bottom. So this is what's creating these tides that we're experiencing every day on a daily basis. Sometimes we have 1 to 2 tides a day. So the lunar cycle is the amount of moon we see that changes over the month in a cycle called lunar phases. The moon orbits the Earth and the Earth orbits the Sun, and this again approximately takes 15 to 13 days for the full moon to return to the new moon. Do I have any questions? Well, let's get to our hands-on activity then. We'll go ahead and watch the short clip of this YouTube video here that basically just goes over what causes the tides and the connection with the moon. After you watch this, we'll go ahead with a partner and use molding clay to shape and draw out the moon's 8 components of the lunar cycle. So that'll be four phases that you will each be required to draw out. So from there, we have a higher thinking question. What are some ways the lunar cycle is important to life? How could the lunar cycle be important to life? Well, let's see. Here's a few answers. For many animals, particularly birds, the moon assists with migration for survival. Also, many animals have developed adaptations relating to tides and unique properties of the moonlight. And also, finally, lunar reproduction. So there's mass spawning of great corals on the barrier reefs of the world's oceans that are triggered by the moon. Billions of coral polyps release their eggs and sperm into the sea. And they're dependent on these tides to help with the movement of these sperms. But that doesn't limit everything. There's also crustaceans that like beachfront property that's just the perfect amount of water, and they always move around according to the tide. So animals do adapt. So what answers did you come up with? Here are my sources, and I hope you learned something about the moon and the tides.